I don't know what it was. He's walking upright like a man.
Sightings in and around Vermont.
Bigfoot sightings across New England have been reported.
Red glowing eyes, about 7 feet tall.
Red eyes, big old fangs, claws coming out through 3 inches long, just sharp as they can be.
There has been another UFO sighting flying over the Royal Botanic Gardens. There are 500 UFO sightings in the world every month. The truth is out there.
I almost very nearly didn't finish my research for today for this
Did
recording.
you? Was it because of that TV show?
Because of Haunting of Hill House.
How
you
is
really
that?
need to watch it. You really need to watch it. It's phenomenal.
Stephen King's been tweeting about it.
Has he?
Yeah.
It honestly, it reminds me a little bit of Rose Red, but it's a lot more exciting than Rose Red.
A lot of things are more exciting than Rose Red.
That's fair.
It was really
fair.
good. I really did like Rose Red the second time I watched it.
Well, the first time we watched it, we were forced into watching it.
Yeah. In one sitting.
In one sitting, and that's a 10-hour thing. It's like a HBO miniseries.
Was it on HBO? I think I saw it on Sci-Fi maybe around Halloween one year.
I think it originated on HBO.
Okay.
One sec. I'm just looking it up real quick. 2002 is when no, that's not right. Was it 2002? Oh, you know what? This is why it reminds me of House on the Haunting of the House on the Hill.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Rose Red because Rose Red was based off of the Shirley Jackson novel The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh.
Which is what this show is based off of. So that explains why it reminds me of Rose Red. Okay. But yeah, no, it's really, I highly recommend it, even though we're now out of the Spooktober season.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. No, it's definitely worth it. And then, of course, there's The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which came out recently at the time of recording.
Is it a remake or continuation of the original, or did they, what I want it to be is a actual serious horror flick that, like a super adult horrifying version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
It's basically a horror version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
That's so good.
Which is based off of the Archie comics of the same name. I think it's The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So I think Satan makes an appearance.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's weird witchy rituals that happen. Salem is like a dude who got a witch pregnant who's been cursed to be a cat forever.
That's outstanding. Which
is not too different from Salem from the TV show with Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah.
To be fair, because that dude was he was a world dominating monster.
Well, he was a cat.
He was, so he's a cat. Yeah, that's cats.
That is cats.
Cats are monsters.
Yeah. My cat woke me up this morning. She decided to, I think they were hungry, but I woke up because she just sort of wrapped her arms around my arm and then just started really biting me. And I need to stop bumping my mic. But, yeah, she just started chowing down.
Welcome to my life in every aspect of what you just said. 1, bumping your mic. 2, cats biting you. 3, cats being assholes for food.
Yeah, I'll expect this to be a mic bumping heavy episode because I did. So my setup is really heavy, so I have a special mic stand, so it doesn't really have an arm. It has a piece of slotted steel coming out.
Okay, yeah.
But I couldn't really access the mic as well and read the screen, so I was sort of reading at a weird angle off axis. So I got a piece of steel, and I drilled it out and made some changes to it to extend the arm, and it works out really well. So now I can read and have the mic right in front of me, and everything works out great. And I can't see or figure out how Skype works to make this full screen. How do I see myself in Skype? If I double click. There we go. So this is the modification I made. Oh, I don't know if you can even see it. And so there's this piece of steel. I machined in the basement and added it to this, which is part of the base. And now I can do whatever I want, and it can pivot and do all this other fun stuff.
So, to the listeners, this might be audio poison, but to me, this is visual delight.
It's
because
custom.
this is a phenomenal customization that Brandon has made for his mic stand. It says the man with the $15 mic stand that's attached to a seat clamp that's hooked onto the desk. And there's a little bit of tape. Actually, so funny story, for a little while, instead of just having one seat clamp, I had two separate seat clamps that were hooked together.
Did you?
Yeah, it was real dangerous. Because seat clamps, while they're great, they're also not, they don't handle off-axis force very well.
Yeah.
So
if you ever need to borrow a clamp, by the way, I'm your guy. I've got a rack of clamps that I have downstairs for clamping for putting new tops on guitars, because you have to clamp all the way around the body of it. So I've got over 20 clamps, maybe, like C-clamps and Irwin clamps and all that fun stuff. I've
seen your clamps. I've seen your clamps. The things you do with those clamps, it's actually pretty cool. Now that we've unleashed about 8 minutes of audio poison on the world.
Oh yeah.
So what are we calling this one?
Welcome to the Cryptid's Guide to the Multiverse, the audio-based interpretive crocheting competition where each week your hosts are forced to make a life-size replica of a randomly selected cryptid from yarn. The winner gets to watch as the loser is doused in Bigfoot pheromones and compelled to run naked through the forest and lure new specimens into the bowels of our secret research facility. I'm Brandon.
I'm John. Every week you make me more upset. Every other week you make me more upset with your joke podcast titles.
I like them. And before we get started, I got another email from the corrections department. I don't know what happened to the former employee. There was an accident in one of the cages, but I was contacted by Frank. I think his name is. I don't know if he even has an ID badge yet, but I was informed that Pinball Wizard is not about Roger Sharp, but a fictional guy named Tommy in the rock opera written by The Who. I just connected some dots and didn't actually do some research. And pinball is also not outlawed nationwide, only various cities across the U.S.
Okay. I mean, one, Frank's an asshole. I've met him. He's just an asshole. I've actually been lobbying against him getting a badge because I think it's funny. Two, all right. I mean, I didn't know that, but I also didn't know about... Well, I knew about pinball machines being banned, but I didn't know about pinball machines. Yeah.
Yeah, and Roger Sharp, the Derek Jeter of pinball machines.
So he played Sharp... Let me take that...
He plays Sharp? Was that an
Sharp.
unintentional pun?
Yeah, that was a bad pun. And it was more... I was trying to say he played shortstop, because I'm pretty sure that's what Derek Jeter plays, but...
I don't know a lot about sport. I couldn't tell you.
Me either. I know enough about sport to tell you if sport is being played incorrectly or correctly, but that's about it.
Oh, man. Our monster this week was first recorded in 1874. It may be found in East Africa. Physically, it resembles a pineapple, and it is assumed to be no longer with us today. Do you have any thoughts on what it could be?
South Africa?
Yep.
You said?
East Africa.
East Africa. Oh, East Africa. I feel like I've heard of this, which is not even a joke. Is the Pokemon Pineco based on it?
I don't believe so.
So it looks like a pineapple.
Yes.
What's it based on?
1874 is
When was
no
the last
longer with
sighting?
us. The last sighting was... Oh boy. There were various expeditions. I don't know if anyone found it again. It may have been 1876.
I think what you've done is you've done it. I think you've stumped me because you picked literally the most possibly obscure cryptid ever.
Yes, it was intentional.
Yeah, like, man, now my whole myth of supernatural powers has gone away. You're blocking my supernatural powers.
It has. Our creature this week, you witch, is the Crinoida digina, more commonly known as the Madagascar tree.
Oh, this was on the list of cryptids that you put in our ideas folder. I've literally never heard of this thing other than that list.
Now to
God
start,
damn the title you've given this.
It's such a good title. To start, anything below that red text, don't scroll too far ahead. Or actually, you know what? You can scroll around, but don't like copy and paste in Google search for stuff because there will be 100% spoilers. So I included pictures of things I thought you would Google.
Okay. I'm looking at the pictures. There's some interesting pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's an adorable creature. Okay, I've just given you all a little bit of a little bit of a preview.
Oh, yeah.
There's something adorable coming.
I'm about to throw... Yeah?
I have legitimately never heard of this, which, for me, the amount of stuff I've read about cryptids and the amount of stuff I've read about paranormal and, like, hidden fauna and flora, this is astounding. Although you could... So it is a... Is this a flora or is this fauna?
It's a plant. It's a carnivorous plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just take me through this.
Yep, and I'm going to throw a stream consisting of just a lot of information at you, so stop me at any time, because there's a lot to digest.
I already know I'm going to make fun of a lot of this, because I'm reading a little bit ahead, and there's a lot of meat on these bones.
There's a lot. The Crinoida digina, or the Madagascar tree, was first recorded by botanist Carl Lech, and in a letter from Dr. Amelins Fredolauki, who wrote, "My motive for publishing prematurely the history of my friend Lech's half-developed discovery is similar to that which influenced Darwin to bring out his book on the origin of species. Darwin himself has lately come so precariously close to the discovery of the problem Leach set himself to investigate. I think it is due to my friend's credit to make some preliminary announcement of the abnormal plants which have always hitherto puzzled botanists."
So I'm going to stop you right there.
Yes.
He's claiming that this plant that was discovered is literally on the same level as the discovery, the formulation of the theory of evolution.
Yes.
That's
and this
a bold claim.
First paragraph is super important. I'll touch on it again at the very end because there's critical... When he states that Darwin himself has lately come so preciously near to the discovery of the problem Lech set himself to investigate, the year in which this letter was published versus the year that Darwin released his book on carnivorous plants is suspiciously close.
So, okay, I think I see where this is going, but I'll let you paint this word tapestry.
They're trying to get ahead of Darwin before he steals their thunder, because they're like, we need to get ours too, man. You can't just be doing all this evolution.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Carl Lech has been given his attention latterly in this certain plants such as Dicera, Saturnalia, and some others, departing from the general law, instead of supplying food to animals, turn the tables, capture them, and are themselves carnivorous. Now, some of these plants I listed are the scientific names of the Venus flytrap and similar plants.
Yeah, so I mean, there are plants that do this. This is not a unheard of phenomena, and likely, I haven't really read much on carnivorous plants, but The other thing I want to say is you have picked a cryptid with a lot of difficult words.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of text from 1874.
Oh, I get that.
And they're botanists. So there's a lot of weird stuff in there. I was big into carnivorous plants in middle school, though. I had several different versions of Venus flytraps and stuff in the house and in the garden.
I think I actually remember that.
Yeah,
I remember
they're
you
fun.
talking about it at some point. Yeah.
There were little hairs, and you could touch them, and then they clamp over. It has often occurred to me, in connection with these insectivorous plants, so abnormal in their constitution that they might have a widely different origin from other common orders of plant, and that, if I could establish the nature of this different origin, I might be at the same time afford reasonable explanation at once of the origin of these primordial variations of the life.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're trying to dig deeper and see if these plants branched from a different ancestor, possibly, from your typical plant.
So far, the way that this is written, one, it definitely reads like an 1800s tabloid article a little bit. But at the same time, it's not like completely discounting the notion of science. But then again, 1800s were weird because everything was considered science.
Everything.
Let's not forget that Frankenstein came out in the 1800s.
Oh yeah.
And that was it was science fiction. Like the height of science fiction.
Mary Shelley was in a cabin with her friends, and there was a bad storm, so they all sort of came up with a community story to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about a time period where you think everything can be solved by electricity, and you think everything can be solved by, opium. So, laudanum's was big. 1800s.
Laudanum's was really, up through the 80s. So Bayer, the aspirin company, Bayer Aspirin, they had Bayer Heroin. So heroin was just a thing you could get in a bottle sold by Bayer fairly recently. And then they just sort of banned that and then came out with worse stuff. Like oxycodone and all that is significantly worse than heroin.
The history of opioids is really, really insane.
Yeah. I don't want to say significantly worse. It does the job not quite as good and is more addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The history of opioids is crazy, but it's also not, unfortunately, it's not the history of our podcast. It's not the nature of our podcast. I think there's a really good Sawbones episode on it, if anyone's interested.
There is. There's a fantastic episode of The Dollop where they go into opioids in the current crisis.
Yeah.
Yep. So when Litch went to Bombay, in response to the liberal call extended to him by the Grant Medical College to make a special investigation into the habitats of such abnormal plants as seem to depart from the characteristics and traits of the flora, Lech discovered the remarkable and terrible Crinoida digena, of which the letter gives such a graphic description.
So this is still the same, this is still the guy who is basically introducing Dr. Omelins or whatever?
Yeah, so this is Lech's friend publishing about his story because Lech hasn't, at this point in time, published his book on the plant, but he's afraid that Charles Darwin will release his book first, so he's trying to put this out there just in case, so that his friend gets the credit for these discoveries.
Okay.
Yep. After quite a long sojourn in India, Lech was influenced to go to Madagascar by Dr. Bawu Dejia, a physician in Bombay who supplied the means of their expedition. When a young man, Dr. Dejia had made a voyage to Madagascar and had been deeply impressed by the flora. So Leach embarked.
They're going to Madagascar.
Yep, they're going from Bombay, India to Madagascar, which is on the eastern side of Africa. It's an island.
You know what Madagascar has that's really cool that's nowhere else in the world? That isn't this plant?
What do they got?
Lemurs.
Yeah, lemurs, man. Zaboomafoo all the way. Zaboomafoo. He's dead now, so that's sad.
Let's just have a moment of silence for the fallen Zaboomafoo. He brought so many to the zoological world.
Very true.
And that's not even a joke. That was I actually did want a moment of silence for Zaboomafoo.
Yeah, no, he's a great lemur. That was a great show.
It was.
Oh, yeah. So Lech embarked, And that was more than 2 years ago since I've received 3 letters from Lech. Last week, a 4th. So that's just a comment from Dr. Allemans on the series of letters he's been receiving in correspondence from Lech. So Lech is...
So
yeah?
I hope those are long letters, because that's 4 letters in 2 years. So that's like a letter every 6 months.
Letters were long as hell back then.
I guess, but man, those would better be some like novellas if there's a lot of details.
Like a scroll. Yeah, they were long. Now it's just happy birthday or my condolences, but back then they were long.
If I write an email that's longer than a paragraph, I think, man, that's a little too long.
In his letter, Lech writes, I want you to know about the remarkable tree which I have discovered and which I've named in honor of you, Crinoida degina. And about 2 weeks after my last letter, I went to visit a Christianized chief.
So I'm starting to get a feeling about this. Now,
yes,
I usually have decent instinct, but did Lech actually write this article? Did Lech actually write these letters? Because there's a part of me that hypothesizes that the author of this like copy, this advertisement, might be embellishing. Although then again, as I'm saying this, I recognize that I thought that the person who's writing this is Dr. Degina and not another person. So I actually retract my statement as I was wondering.
Yeah, so these, I don't have the original letters. I do have the original print that was published. And I will say, the scan is not super great, so writing this was a pain.
It definitely looks like a pain.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so Crinoida.
Crinoida degina. Like... Crinoida, I don't know. I think is a classification perhaps of plant, and degina is clearly the name of the physician from Bombay that funded his expedition.
So then Crinoida is probably the genus of the plant, because it's usually genus species is the Latin name.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That was a completely worthless diversion.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's weird. Okay. So I just looked it up. It's a type of echinoderm, which is like the like a sea lily.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird that there's a sea lily on land.
Yeah. Well, we'll get closer, but it's on an island, and they take a hike.
Okay.
Yep. So they went to visit a Christianized chief. From there, Lech describes how his guide left him and how he found another one of great value at the chief's village, who then asks why he hadn't visited the Mkodos, where there are regionally specific plants. So he had one guide, they're traveling, they got to a village, his guide abandoned him, he found a new guy. New guy's apparently awesome. Lech apparently heard that the people of the area are hospitable and cannibals.
So, cannibals.
Cannibals.
What's the deal with white people and assuming everyone in Africa is a cannibal?
I mean, they're white people.
I can't argue with that. I'm a white person.
Yeah. Henrik, which is his new guide, he didn't say the name of the original guide. Henrik is the new one. Henrik replies that he had been among them twice and had been well received, and he would guarantee him safe treatment among them, and adds that their reputation comes from continually being at war with other tribes.
Okay. It feels like this guy's trying to explain away the continually at war thing.
Yeah.
That he's trying to explain away the cannibalism, but he also then is like, yeah, but they're like super violent at the same time. So
they're real violent.
I don't feel like he actually solved anything with that. I feel like he kind of, if anything, if I was in his situation, I heard that, I'd be like, so what you're telling me is they're super violent. Yeah, but you're going to be treated well.
Yeah, not a comfort. It is not a comfort. Although the cannibalism in at war makes sense because there are, in different regions, tribes who at war, if they get a warrior of another tribe in battle, they will consume him, because the idea is that you're then gaining some of his warrior powers. So I think it's not far off from things that we know of.
I think also cannibalism, the act of cannibalism, is a dehumanizing act.
Yeah.
At its core, because then it's not recognizing the individual as a person most times, or at the very least, it's disregarding their humanity, because it is a social taboo in a lot of cultures.
Yeah.
And it also demoralizes people.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say it was a good thing, cannibalism. In fact, I will put my reputation on the line. Cannibalism's not good. Don't be a cannibal. I'll say it. I'm gonna say it.
I don't like dealing in absolutes. I've heard that Sith do that.
I'm okay with being on an absolute against cannibalism. That is, by the way, why you shouldn't eat people is Prion diseases, which are legitimately the scariest thing that I know of. Yeah.
I live in terror of prions. Not gonna lie.
There's no cure, and they don't know why they happen.
For people who don't know what a prion is, basically mad cow disease.
Yeah, mad cow is. So if you eat a person, there's a disease called Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, which I know I'm saying wrong because it's German, but that's how I'm gonna say it. And that causes these proteins in your brain to fold and unfold weirdly. But Prion diseases also just sometimes happen, and they don't know why, and there's no cure, and they're a nightmare.
Yeah, it's kind of a Cronenberg-esque.
Yeah. Oh
yeah. It's just like your body then turns on itself, because literally the proteins that make up your cells like unfold and then refold in the wrong order. So like if you think about that on a macro scale, it'd be like your skin came off and then went back on backwards.
Oh yeah, it makes your proteins the wacky waving inflatable balloon arm flailing men outside of the car shops.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not great.
No.
It's not great.
No, it's not. So Lech and Henrik set out for the Mkodos. Lech describes the I'm going to say it right, hang on. The Mkodos are a very primitive race, going completely naked, and they have no religion beyond that of the awful reverence which they pay to their sacred tree. He then lists the Latin names of a bunch of plants.
A little bit of an additional aside, did you know that there's a new version of Pathfinder coming out?
Is there?
Yeah, there's a second edition of Pathfinder coming out, and they took out the term races.
Yeah.
And they're replacing them with ancestries.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah. So Lech, his guide, and a group of the Mkodo traveled down a long, winding path near a lake. The path turns towards the jungle, and eventually the landscape takes a drastic turn. Lech writes, "After we were fairly in the forest, the shade overhead was so dense that the jungle and undergrowth almost disappeared, and instead there was a damp, boggy turf, cold, spongy, and yielding to the tread. The stalks of the tall trees rose like columns, the vines hanging down from the tree, and their roots running over the ground in every direction. Suddenly, all the natives began to cry, 'Tepe, Tepe,' and Hendrik stopped short." So now they're traveling along a lake deep into this really boggy turf, and all of the Mkodo start chanting.
It sounds like the setup to a Godzilla movie.
It does a little bit.
Because, like, it reminds me of, oh god, which Godzilla movie am I thinking of? Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, a little bit.
Okay.
Where, in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, I just gotta know. Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, the natives basically are harvesting a particular type of like berry or something that makes a gas that deters Ebura, the horror of the deep. It also kind of reminds me of Godzilla versus King Kong, for that matter, because they gave him like these opioid type berries.
Yeah.
Or it also reminds me of Godzilla versus Mothra. They use the same plot a lot of times in the Showa Godzilla movies, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, a lot. Like, there's a bunch of people who end up in an island. There's a bunch of, like, Polynesian natives there.
They found a formula that worked.
Frequently in brownface.
Oh.
Frequently. And then the people from Japan find the thing. They are like, oh, let's just bring this back to deal with Godzilla. Or, oh, we need to get off the island because we need Godzilla to deal with it. Oh, et cetera. So, that's a thing. Also, side note, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, it was originally supposed to be a Frankenstein movie.
No shit.
That's why Godzilla gets woken up by a lightning strike.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's a fun fact.
Yeah. I love the Godzilla movies.
So, along the river was a single tree. I will try to describe it to you. If you can imagine a pineapple, 8 feet high and thick and denuded of leaves.
Denuded is a fun word.
I never heard it before, and it is a very fun word. I want to try to slip it into a casual conversation.
I will be upset if you slip it into casual conversation with me.
I, at work, mentioned the insectivorous plants, and one of the managers gave me $1, because apparently if you say a big word, he just gives you $1.
Amazing.
Its trunk is a dark, dingy brown, hard as iron. The inside of each covered... Oh, sorry. I put parentheses in the wrong spot. But its trunk was a dark, dingy brown and hard as iron. From its top, 8 leaves hung to the ground. The inside of each covered with small hook-like barbs. Like doors, hung back from their hinges. 11 or 12 feet long and shaped like the leaves of an agave. 2 feet through in their thickest, and 3 feet wide, tapering to a sharp point.
That's a very confusing description, but I see what, like, it kind of reminds me of like an aloe vera plant on a pot.
It's sort of, if you imagine a really big pineapple, but the brown part where there's those pointy bits, if that's smooth, and it had the pineapple green leaves coming out the top, but instead of sticking straight up, they're folded back down.
Yeah, that's kind of the best way to describe it.
Yeah. At the top were 2 large white concave parts, like a small plate placed inside a larger. There was a receptacle extended into a clear liquid that was honey sweet and possessed violently intoxicating properties.
Okay, it's just becoming more and more like a Godzilla movie, because now we're Godzilla versus King Kong.
Oh. From these, 6 white, almost transparent palpi reared themselves towards the sky. So now we're to a pineapple that's smooth, leaves folded back. On top is a little cup with a liquid, and there's the, what are you called, stamen, stoma, the palpi, whatever they are, sticking up out from that.
Okay.
Yep. Lech writes, my observations on this occasion were suddenly interrupted by the natives who had been shrieking around the trees and chanting. With still wilder shrieks, they now surrounded one of the women and urged her with the point of their javelins, until slowly and with a despairing face she climbed up the rough stalk of the tree and stood upon the summit of the cone. Drink, drink, cried the men, and she drank of the fluid in the cup, raising instantly again with a wild frenzy in her face and convulsive limbs. So they're making her climb this thing, and she drinks the liquid that he described as honey sweet, and it sounds like it's... I'm not sure what the fluid itself is, but it causes convulsions, apparently. So maybe some kind of neurotoxin or some kind of, like, hallucinogen.
That's... Okay. I've got some problems with this story.
Do you?
But, yeah, I got a few problems. There's a lot of... Actually, no. Everything about this story sounds fake. I'm just going to say. Literally everything sounds fake now.
Does it? Okay. Well, we'll continue. I go through, we'll see. We'll see at the end. We'll see at the end.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like...
it may very well be heavily embellished.
Yeah, this doesn't sound right to me in some way. But there's a number of reasons. We'll get into them later, I think.
Oh, yeah. The slender, delicate palpi quiver a moment, then, as if in instinct, fasten upon her. When her awful screams and yet more awful laughter rose wilder, she was strangled down again into a gargled moan. The tendrils retracted and wrapped her about. They just sort of fold about her. They close around her. The pineapple leaves.
I've definitely. This definitely reads like erotica on the internet.
I didn't say tentacles. I said palpi.
Yeah, that's just because it's palpi doesn't mean that it's not tentacles.
Yep.
Because I think this exact situation is definitely a thing in circles that Griffin McElroy might enjoy a little bit, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know what I'm saying, it sounds like boar porn.
Oh yeah. So let me change how I read stuff. And now the great leaves rose stiffly.
I can't. Nope. Nope.
Enclosed about the dead and hampered victim. From their interstices, there trickled down the stalk of the great tree stems of viscid honey-like fluid mingled horribly with the blood. At sight of this, the savage hordes around me, yelling loudly, bounded forward, crowded the tree, and each got enough of the liquor to send him into a mad frenzy.
Okay, this makes me, once again, even more not trusting this story in any way, shape, or form. But
it's a thing.
I don't believe it for a second.
Yep.
Just telling you right now.
Then ensued a grotesque orgy, from which Henrik dragged me hurriedly away into the forest. So he's down for everything but the orgy.
I think he was down for the orgy. I think he editorialized this. He actually participated in the orgy. That's the only thing that happened. I'm almost convinced that's the only thing that happened. He was in a crazy orgy.
A crazy pineapple orgy.
A crazy pineapple orgy. A crazy fermented pineapple juice orgy.
So Lech's writing resumes from a ship waiting to set sail. In the course of my stay in the valley, I saw 6 other specimens of Crinoida digena, but none as large as this which the Mkodos worshipped. I learned that they are carnivorous in the same sense that the Dionaea, or Venus Flytrap, are insectivorous. The retracted leaves of the great tree kept in their upright position during 10 days. Then, when I came again one morning, they were prone again, in nothing but a skull at the foot of the tree. I climbed up a neighboring tree and saw that all trace of the victim was gone, and the cup at the top was once supplied at the top. It refilled with fluid, the thing on the top. I saw a smaller one capture and destroy an active lemur. Which... No, Zaboomafoo!
No! They lied to us. That was Zaboomafoo.
Yeah. Dropping by accident upon it while watching me. With Hendrik's assistance, I cut down one of the minor trees and dissected it carefully. I must defer to my next for the details of this most interesting examination.
So what happened to the specimen, Brandon?
The smaller specimen?
Where is it?
Where is it?
Where are the seeds?
Where are the seeds? So there were...
Where are the drawings of the dissection?
There are drawings of it not dissected up taller. We will get back to the dissection after a little bit, but they're at it again.
I accidentally... this is my fault.
Is it?
This is my fault, yeah. I definitely am responsible for this one.
Are you? What'd you do?
I told them. I told everyone what happened to Zaboomafoo.
No. No.
That's confidential information. Everyone forget, please. Forget what happened to Zaboomafoo. He died of old age. Happy.
I thought it was for the dress code violation for me wearing my wizard hat.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
That actually is a little worse. Frank,
Nice.
I'm pretty sure Frank was the narc.
Oh, Frank! We're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to destroy his badge We're going to have to coat him in pheromones and lock the gates to the facility.
He doesn't have a battery.
Oh.
I made sure of that, remember?
Then I'll just spray him with pheromones and lock him outside.
2251.
Today's sponsor is Follicure. Are you tired of leaving stray hairs everywhere you go? Fret no more about someone finding a follicle when you least want it. Follicure is the latest in grooming technology. It applies like a standard pomade, but binds your hair to the skin at the root. Follicure is cruelty-free, and that's why I use Follicure for all my grooming needs. Follicure is not FDA tested or approved. Side effects include anger, fugue states, blackouts, diarrhea, uncontrollable urges, increased strength, increased speed, erectile dysfunction, irrational behavior, intrusive thoughts, fainting, internal bleeding, kidney stones, a love of romantic comedies, lactose intolerance, fingernail loss, toenail loss, blindness, memory loss, and rashes. Now back to the show.
Before we get going,
Yeah.
I got back a little bit early. It turns out I got an award for my Zaboomafoo reveal because they didn't know.
Oh, fantastic.
You got sprayed with some pheromones, though.
Oh.
They didn't tell you, but you got pheromones.
It's not water soluble. I can't wash it off.
No, it's a pain in the ass. So I found this while we were gone.
Uh-oh.
It's called Power Rangers Fauna Force. The tagline is, they're furries.
Who's their audience? Who's the target audience for that? Come on.
You know the target audience.
Oh, I know.
There's actually a really big one.
Mm-hmm. I like your award, by the way. It's a nice golden placard.
Yeah. I do suspect that it attracts Bigfoot to me. But I'm not sure. There are some Bigfoot who do like shiny things.
Everyone likes shiny things.
Not this plant, though.
No. So here's the scoop. There are currently over 750 species of carnivorous plants known today, and a few more are being discovered every few years, like the Drosera verrucata found in 2013. All of these plants use one or a combination of the same methods to capture their prey, 3 of which are similar to the Crinoida digena. Pitfall plants have a bowl shape and secrete an enticing fluid to lure their prey. Once inside, digestive enzymes break down the food. One of these, Nepenthes raja, found in 1858, can even consume small mammals.
Oh, rest in pieces. Poor small mammal.
Poor small mammals.
That was the cute thing I mentioned at the top of the episode.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I'm sad now.
I intentionally looked for an image that wasn't of a in process of being digested small mammal.
Yeah, I thank you for that, because that would have not been a fun day.
Yeah, no, they were bummers. Snap
Yeah.
traps, like the Venus Flytrap, have hinged leaves that close around their prey. Flytraps also have teeth, I'll say that in air quotes, to keep their prey from escaping, and we're all familiar with those, more or less.
Venus flytrap.
Yep, Venus flytrap. And flypaper traps, like the Drosera capenensis, which I know I said wrong. Mm-hmm. They have a long strap-like leaf with tendrils sprouting out, tipped in fluid. When the prey is detected, the leaf wraps itself around the prey, and they start to be digested.
So, I know that this is also not the right way to say it, but it does almost look like a penis. I have nothing else to say. I just saw the word penis almost, and I thought it was funny.
I thought you were describing the picture of the leaf. I was gonna say you should see a doctor.
Well, that's a Sasquatch penis.
Charles Darwin wrote the first well-known treatise on carnivorous plants in 1875, which in itself is very interesting, as these are relatively new, especially before and very little after that would have been known about them, and to your common person, the idea of a carnivorous plant would have been crazy. Mm-hmm. Which takes us to the New York World, a newspaper published from 1860 to 1931. This just happens to be the same paper that Dr. Amelins shared his friend Carl Letch's correspondence in April 26th, 1874, less than 1 year before Darwin published Insectivorous Plants, his treatise on carnivorous plants.
So, I'm starting to be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist on this.
Oh, share.
Is Carl Leches even a real person? Because the next week's Cryptid, I've been doing a lot of research, and I've begun to suspect that certain individuals in the story that I'm going to be telling next week aren't real people.
Oh.
And I'm curious if there's any historic evidence of a Carl Leche ever existing outside of this article.
I will go into that and the key players that we've heard about so far.
Okay, because I think he doesn't exist.
Yeah. So the article itself exploded, and it was reprinted in other papers all over the world for several years, and at least 5 different expeditions were launched to find this tree, including one by Chase Osborne, one of the governors of Michigan, and one of these expeditions never returned.
Wait, what?
Yup.
What? Like, that's the dumbest thing to die over, personally, I think. I'm sorry. I get that it's spooky. I get that it's interesting. But, like, of all the things you could die over, like, if you looked at a list of people and you asked them, how did you die? You know, I feel like if I said, I died looking for a carnivorous plant, I'd lie. I'd lie and say it was autoerotic asphyxiation at that point. Because that's historically one of the more upsetting and embarrassing ways to go. But I still feel like at least there's an explanation for why it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a carnivorous plant that I read about in an article because I'm a gullible asshole. Is somehow more embarrassing than that.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, there are no living specimens of Carnivorous Dugina around today. They, as it would happen, fell victim to a common disease known as being completely fictional.
Yeah, I saw that coming. There's literally no... Oh, wait, let me work on my shocked voice. 1 second. What? How was that?
It's pretty good. Good.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
What?
Current literature, published 14 years later in 1888, was the first to publicly debunk Edmund's article.
Okay. I could have debunked it just by listening to you giving me the little snippets, but let's hear how they debunked it.
This is the 1800s. They're willing to buy into a lot of stuff at this point in time.
Yeah, that's true.
It was written years ago by Mr. Edmund Spencer for the New York World. While Mr. Spencer was connected with that paper, he wrote a number of stories, all being remarkable for their appearance of truth, the extraordinary imagination displayed, and their somber tone. Mr. Spencer was a master of horrible, some of his stories approaching closely to those of Mr. Poe in this regard. Like many other clever men, his best work is hidden in the files of the daily press. This particular story of the Carnivorous Dugina, the devil tree of Madagascar, was copied far and wide and caused many to hunt for the words of Dr. Ferdlowski. It was written as the result of a talk with some friends, during which Mr. Spencer maintained that all was necessary to produce the sensation of horror in the reader was to greatly exaggerate some of the well-known and perhaps beautiful thing. He then stated that he would show what could be done with the sensitive plant. So he stated that he would show what could be done with the sensitive plant when this method of treatment was applied to it. The devil tree is, after all, only a monstrous variety of the Venus Flytrap so common in North Carolina. Mr. Spencer died about 2 years ago in Baltimore. So this whole thing was written by a guy for a newspaper who wrote horror stories that seemed real and wanted to show off to his friends that he could make even a plant scary.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I also, when you mentioned this, there's another hoaxer whose name I don't remember, and I was curious if it was him, but I couldn't find a link to it. But this reminds me an awful lot of the Moon Hoax story I told you about a while back, where some guy wrote a bunch of articles and he published them as facts, and it was like about a scientist who was observing things on the moon, the surface of the moon, with like a super powerful telescope.
Oh, cool.
So it's a really insanely cool story, but it smelled exactly like this while you were reading it to me.
The article itself did not mention Edmund as the author, But one clue to its fictionality is that no person mentioned actually ever existed, not even the Mkodos.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Like, at all. I am, once again, what?
And a snippet from the Museum of Hoaxes website says that no other record has ever been found on the existence of Mr. Edmund Spencer of the New York World. However, Summers, of Current Literature, was highly knowledgeable about the New York literary scene, and there is no reason his information shouldn't be accepted as credible. However, Summers' revelation went widely unnoticed throughout the 1890s, and the man-eating tree story continued to appear in magazines, but none mentioned that Spencer was the author. By the 20th century, the New York World wasn't even being identified as the original publisher of the tale. This caused enormous confusion to researchers throughout the 20th century who came across the story and tried to track down its original source.
God damn it.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
You know that saying, a lie's around the world before the truth gets a chance to put on its pants?
No, but I like it.
So sometimes the truth has its pants on. It shot the lie in the forehead, but the lie has so much momentum that it keeps running around the world.
That's fantastic. That's perfect for this. Specifically this one. It's outstanding.
Honestly, that's like the main problem with these types of stories.
Yeah.
Is that when you look into it, the story is so much better than the truth. Like, to people, and like, even though it's a completely insane thing, people like to take the thing that's more palatable to them as opposed to the thing that actually has any empirical evidence of existing ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
God.
And the best part is, this story that we told could only have been told now, in this era, because it wasn't until the 21st century when issues of Current Literature, which is the name of the magazine that the debunking was published in, became searchable on Google Books, that Summers' information about the identity of the hoax's author reemerged. So it wasn't until now that it was even possible to debunk this.
Well, I mean, if you found an original copy, but like that's difficult because it's like it's an obscure like a relatively obscure magazine by today's standards.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, how do you even know? The thing I find most hilarious is the fact that New York World was lost as the original publisher.
Yeah, like the author, he never took credit for writing it. Edmund Spencer never showed up anywhere in the article. Full credits, I should mention, were given, like, fake credits to everyone mentioned. So all the doctors had little short bios in the article itself.
God.
So that combined with the loss of the New York World as the original source made this thing absolutely incredible.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, this is such, like, I know I said it before, but this is such a problem with the type of research we've been doing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know, I can almost guarantee that you've been through at least 4 cryptids before you reach this one for this week.
They are for almost every week, yeah. I pick some until I just go through them until I find something with enough sources that I could get a full episode.
It's to the point, there's so much circular referencing that exists in the cryptozoological community that it's like almost impossible to find a coherent story that has its basis in any sense of fact.
Oh yeah. I will say, however, the best sources that I've come across, including this one, are all made available. Again, only now could we do this. They're all made available through archive.org and through the Library of Congress, and they're scans of the originals that I would never be able to gain access to.
Listen, I made the plug last week, but I'm going to make it again. Library science is important.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's one of those weird things that people joke about, but library science and the preservation of data is essential.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely essential. Like, Like even whatchamacallit, I sent you a link to it recently because I found a list of mythological books on the Gutenberg Press.
Yeah.
That site's phenomenal. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Gutenberg Press is basically, I said basically 6 times.
I'll edit it to 1.
It's a website that collects a bunch of sources that are currently in the public domain and publishes them.
Oh, yeah.
So
they're a lifesaver.
Definitely worth looking into if you have access. If you want to read things from before public domain law got screwed up by Disney, a lot of good stuff to read in there.
Oh, yeah. The Mongolian Deathworm and the Redcaps episodes, I believe for both, I could be mistaken, included sources to Gutenberg Press and to archive.org. I did not use Gutenberg Press on this one, but I did use archive.org and Google Books to get originals of the of current literature and of the article from the New York World in which it was published, as well as scans from, I found an Australian article, an original scan of a reprint. That is everything I have for this week on Cryptopedia.
I mean, it was a good one.
It was a real good one.
It was real good. The only problem is I might have lost my preternatural ability to guess every cryptid, but my ability to detect bullshit has not gone away.
I intentionally found one that looked weird, like a pineapple, to throw you off the trail. And I actually think this one's a landmark because it might be the first hoax that we have so far. I don't know if it's actually a hoax. Right, it was written by Edmund Spencer to be a scary story.
I'd classify that as a hoax because he wrote it with the intent to mislead, I feel like.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I buy that. Yeah.
I think the intent here was to mislead, so it qualifies as a hoax. Mm-hmm. I do think that this is our first, we can categorically say that this is a hoax, though.
Yeah.
Categorically, because, let's see, we've done Black Shuck, the Dover Demon, Fairies, Enfield Horror, Redcaps, and I think there was one other that I'm missing.
Deathworm.
Yeah. And none of those are outright hoaxes. They're more urban legends, folklore, and sightings that may have been misattributed. But none of them are outright hoaxes. So I think you have the distinction of being the first hoax episode on Cryptopedia, I think.
Yeah, and it's the first episode in which you lost your witch-like powers gifted to you by the CIA, the NSA, and all of these other government entities that are providing you information that's on my hard drive that you're spying on me. And now this one, I win.
I mean, yeah, I guess you technically win. So I'm, what is this now? I'm 3 out of 4 and you're 1 for 3.
Yeah.
I gotta pick it back up. I can't let you catch up. Although I don't think you're gonna guess next week's cryptid.
No, we'll see about that.
You can always follow us on cryptopediacast.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at cryptopediacast. We've got a SoundCloud. You can reach it on our website, but it doesn't really have a whole lot on it. You can email us at cryptopediacast@gmail.com or us at cryptopediacast.com. Both of those links, all these links are currently on the cryptopediacast.com homepage. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere podcasts are sold, so to speak, by searching Cryptopedia. We recently got released on Spotify back in, episode 5. We got moved to Spotify. So
got Spotify.
Yeah, if you have Spotify and it's your preferred media platform, you can always listen to us there. Additionally, we've got a Patreon now. So if you want to pass us a couple of bucks to buy books or pay some of the time that it goes into this show because you enjoy it, that'd be great. If you put in, we've got 3 tiers today. We have the $1 tier.
Hoop Snakes!
Is the Hoop Snakes. It's for people who want to support the podcast but don't necessarily want to put that much in or care about any of the special bonuses for the higher tiers. The second tier, I believe, is Hodags. That's for people who want to get access to our research. That's $2 a month. And then we have a $5 tier.
Jackalopes!
And the jackalopes eventually we'll get access to ad-free episodes if we ever get ads on the show. If we do any bonus content, like in terms of recording and stuff like that, you'll probably get it at the $5 tier and up. And then I think what we're planning to, what I think we might do is if you subscribe in the $5 tier, we'll mention you at the end of, like, in these notes at the end of the episodes.
Yeah, you'll get a mention. If you want, holla at your boy. We got stickers. We can just send you a sticker. Yeah.
Postage is cheap, so. And we ordered 1,000 of them. I've got at least 100 in my office.
Yeah, I've got a fat stack behind me. I don't know how many are in there. I've got some in my glove box. I've got a bunch everywhere, man.
Yeah. So if you're interested, just let us know and we'll get it to you. In terms of social media for us, where can they find you, Brandon?
They can find me on Instagram at instagram.com. I am donkey_hands. My website is boyerb.com. My email is brandon@cryptopediacast.com, and my Twitter is @cryptobrandon.
And you can reach me on Instagram @mu2057. My Twitter is @jfdunham. My website is johndunhamgames.com, but it currently redirects to Cryptopedia. And you can always email me at john@cryptopediacast.com.
Our art is done by Tom Hill. You can find him on Instagram @ThomasMichaelHill. His website is greatergloryco.com. His email is tommikehill@gmail.com. And if you want, feel free to email us. Send us some recommended creatures to research, sightings of your own, any creepypasta, etc.
Yeah, and we'll try to get back to you when you send us stuff. As always, I'm John.
I'm Brandon.
And things are going to get weird.
Lech, his guide.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God. I just got spooked. I got very confused. I'm sitting here, and the lights are basically out in my house because there's no real need to have the lights on because we have a window.
Yeah.
And Lissa is just, doing stuff, and she puts something on her face, and she pops up, and her in a red face pops up and looks at me over the monitor, and now I'm terrified because I wasn't expecting it. I live in eternal fear. Oh, here she comes.
Hey! I like it. Wait, come back, Lissa, come back. What kind of face mask is that you got on? Because I've got like the exfoliating stuff and all that stuff. What kind of mask is that?
Some random peel-off mask that I got in an Ipsy bag. I have no idea.
Ipsy! Making Christmas shopping easier since whenever they came out.